Hey gang, welcome to Cooking with Skrama. We're in this fantastic Finnish weather. Sun is almost shining and we're gonna be cooking some roadkill deer on open fire using this fantastic brand new Skrama 200 chef's knife. Today we're gonna be cooking Karelian stew, which is a Karelian festive dish eaten during weddings, funerals and all sorts of celebrations, including Christmas. And since Christmas is soon approaching, we thought it would be very appropriate to use that dish here. Karelian stew is a very simple dish. All you need is some meat and some onions. Usually it is made from either 2 kinds of meat or 3 kinds of meat. Beef and pork always, sometimes lamb also added. But families that hunt usually substitute the beef for some sort of game animal like moose. This time we're going to be using roadkill deer here, which was killed by a car about 2 kilometers that way. Then we're going to be using some pork neck and we're going to be adding some bacon because you need some fat, because nowadays the pork is quite lean and you need some flavor as well. We're going to be cooking it in lard. Then we're going to adding the onions and some spices, allspice, salt and juniper berries. You usually add water, but we're going to be adding some brown stock made from roadkill deer spine bits and some funnel chanterelles. First we're going to be cutting the meat, and since this is going to be cooked low and slow, we want big chunks of meat, not small bits, but big ones. Next we take some pork. Once again you cut it into fairly big chunks. You don't want to use any kind of pork fillet or any fancy stuff. You take pork neck, pork shoulder, anything with some fat on it, and then just cut it like you did with the deer. Bacon isn't really traditionally used in Karelian stew, but since modern pork is very lean, I usually like to add some fat to it, and bacon adds nice smoky flavor as well. We cut the bacon into smallish bits. The size doesn't really matter here, it's just used as a spice. Next we add some onion, which is the only vegetable used in this dish. Number of onions doesn't really matter, you use as many as you want. For this size of dish I usually use 3 big ones, but if you don't like too much onion, put less. If you like lots of onion, put more. It's not that precise. And we cut the onion into fairly big pieces. You don't have to make it too small because this is gonna cook quite low and slow, as I said. So you don't have to make it very small. Okay, next we're gonna brown the meat on the pan. Traditionally Karelian stew is made in the oven, usually wood oven, but we're socially isolating at the moment outdoors, so we're gonna make it on open fire as we said before. And we're gonna be using lard on the pan. You can use butter if you want, but I think lard gives a nicer flavor. Then just put the pan on the fire and we start browning the meat. First the lean cuts. You can wait until the fat melts, but I'm a bit impatient, so doesn't matter as long as you get some fat there. Then when it's nice and brown, just put it in the pot. Then next we're gonna fry some bacon, and when the bacon is getting nice and crispy and releasing some of the fat, we're gonna add the onions and brown them at the same time too, and later on throw them in the pot with the meat. When the onions and bacon are nicely colored, we just pour it all into the pot. The ideal pot for this is a cast iron pot, Dutch oven or something like that. In the old days the pots used in the oven were clay, but later on they were replaced by cast iron pots. Then we add some liquid to the pot. You can use water if you want, but I think that homemade stock gives a nicer flavor. This is a brown stock I made from roadkill deer and some vegetables and some funnel chanterelles. Finally we add some spices, and today we have some snow-covered allspice and juniper berries and some salt that's supposed to be somewhere here under the mountain of snow, and we put some bay leaves as well. There. Now we put the pot on the embers and we're gonna be cooking it low and slow. As I said before, this is usually made in the oven. And if you want to make it in the oven, I usually use about 90 degrees with Celsius, which is about 195 Fahrenheit, and I keep it in the oven overnight. You want to cook it as long as it's tender enough to be cut with a spoon. And now it's a perfect moment to have some beer. Now we're gonna wait for a few hours and until the meat is nice and tender. Cheers. Okay, the stew starts to be finally ready. So we're gonna make some side dishes to go with it. Karelian stew is eaten with potatoes nowadays, but since Christmas is coming, we're gonna put some carrot casserole and rutabaga casserole onto the fire and heat it up. It's been pre-made already, but we're just gonna warm it up here on the fire. These are traditional Finnish Christmas side dishes. Carrot casserole is made with carrots and rice, and this is just basically rutabaga and some nice flavorings like cream and such. Well, it does look a bit like cat vomit, but I actually assure you that this is very tasty. This is one of those ugly delicious things. Damn ugly, but damn delicious. Okay, food is finally done. Beer is unfortunately gone, but there's plenty of snow to come down yet. But it doesn't matter, we have warm food finally, and this is normally nowadays eaten with potatoes, but in the old days you ate it with Karelian pasties, and I think it's still a very delicious way to eat it. So you just take a Karelian pasty, put some egg butter on it, and dip it in the broth. And the meat should be as tender that you can cut it with a spoon or fork, so you don't really need a knife. Merry Christmas.